London breathes quietly before dawn. The city feels half awake, half asleep, resting in its own warmth. The air carries the smell of smoke and damp wood. Chimneys sigh gently into the sky, their pale trails curling above rooftops that lean and tilt, as if the houses themselves were listening for some distant sound. In the narrow streets below, silence gathers between the walls. Timber frames creak softly. The cobblestones shine with last night's rain. Across these lanes, the upper floors hang over the streets, reaching toward each other until their eaves almost meet. In places, people can stretch out a hand from one window and touch the house across. It gives the city a strange closeness, a sense of warmth and crowding that feels alive and human. The sound of wheels echoes from far away. Somewhere, a church bell marks the hour. A few footsteps follow, fading into the fog. London is a city built from breath and timber, from hands that worked fast and never stopped. Fires burn inside every home. Small fires for warmth, for light, for baking, for the work of 1,000 trades. Fire is not feared here. It is trusted, part of the air itself. People live beside it, handle it daily, shaped by the comfort it gives. In this hour, the idea that fire could betray them does not exist. The city glows faintly in the dark, unaware that every flicker in every hearth carries the echo of its future. The Thames slides quietly beneath the bridges. By its banks, ships rock gently with the tide. Their holds carry sugar, spice, silk, tobacco, treasures from across half the world. The river has become London's lifeline, the great artery that feeds its hunger for trade and power. By day, it smells of fish, mud, and sweat. By night, it whispers like a secret. Along its edge, the city's wealth and its waste meet and mingle, flowing outward together. This is London in 1666, confident, busy, proud. The scars of revolution and plague still linger, but they seem like distant memories now. The monarchy has returned, and King Charles II rules a restless but recovering nation. There is music again at court. Trade grows every month. Church bells ring over markets filled with voices, laughter, and the clatter of hooves. Londoners believe they have survived the worst that life could offer. War, disease, rebellion. They have endured it all. And having endured, they now believe they are safe. In coffee houses and taverns, men argue about ships, faith, and science. Ideas travel as easily as rumors. Merchants count their profits, guild leaders defend their rights, and clerks record trades that bind the city to worlds far from its walls. Each street feels alive with purpose and noise. There is a settled rhythm to its movement, a sense that London has finally learned how to live without fear. The air of optimism hangs thick and reassuring. But beneath that confidence lies the truth that no one sees. The city that feels eternal is built from fragile things. Every home, every shopfront, every tavern is a piece of kindling waiting to burn. If beauty exists in London, it is an accidental one. The streets twist not by plan, but by habit, an old pattern of growth copied by each new generation. Houses are raised quickly, cheap and close, wood nailed to wood, pitched roofs pressed together. Space has become so scarce that buildings lean into one another like drunken friends. Their supports bent, their timbers blackened by years of smoke. Official fire codes do exist, tucked away in city records, written to prevent exactly the disaster that waits. But in practice, they are paper laws in a world of flame and trade. Water is precious. Pumps are few. Wells run dry in summer. And what flows through the gutters often cannot be trusted for drinking. Insurance is rare, carried only by the most careful merchants. For everyone else, loss is part of life. They build, rebuild, and build again in the same way, on the same streets, with the same materials that once betrayed them. Yet to live here is to adapt. People have learned not to question these dangers because questioning them changes nothing. A shopkeeper sleeps above his store. A family cooks beside a tar-sealed wall. And neighbors live close enough to hear one another breathe. To them, this is not risk, it is routine. Life is hard, but it continues. And as long as tomorrow resembles today, Londoners consider themselves safe. The illusion of safety has become their greatest comfort. But comfort hides the spark. In the small hours of Sunday, September 2nd, a fire begins in the eastern part of the city. Inside a bakery on Pudding Lane, the baker's household is already asleep when flames crackle through the ovens and catch the wooden walls. At first, it seems ordinary enough, a problem of carelessness, not catastrophe. Fires happen often in this city. They flare up, they burn themselves out, and people go back to bed. Neighbors are woken by shouting. Buckets appear. Hands form a line. Sparks drift upward, lighting the night sky. The street fills with smoke, but there is no panic yet. The Lord Mayor is called. He surveys the scene and shakes his head. It will burn itself out, he says. Let it run its course. The city has seen this before 100 times. It has never been more than a night's inconvenience. But the flame refuses to obey. The breeze from the east grows stronger through the night, feeding the fire, pulling it forward through the narrow lanes. Roofs collapse and send plumes of sparks across the street, settling on tarred boards, haylofts, and ropes of cloth. Fire catches again and again, spreading with desire, with intelligence. Each attempt to stop it comes too late. Commands are given, but not followed. Orders to demolish houses are argued over. Whose property? Whose rights? Whose fault? Everyone wants action, but no one wants responsibility. In the city's tangle of jurisdictions, royal, civic, church, the power to act is divided. Men debate as the fire moves past them. Walls that should have been torn down hours earlier now burn hotter than the sun. The wind carries burning fragments over entire neighborhoods, turning small fires into many. People pour water onto doorsteps already aflame and watch it vanish into steam. No single moment decides the city's fate. It is decided slowly, in hesitation, in pride, in disbelief that a manageable fire could ever become something greater. By morning, it is no longer one fire but 100. The heat is so fierce that cobblestones crack beneath it. The city's own defenses, its dense heart, and its ancient walls, now trap the flames instead of stopping them. By the second day, London becomes unrecognizable. Fire storms across entire streets in minutes. The roofs fold down into themselves. Beams twist and fall. Markets where thousands once gathered are consumed by red light. The air roars like wind through trees, but it carries heat and ash instead of leaves. Stone itself begins to give way. Churches split open, bells melt and flow like rivers of metal across the ground. One by one, the landmarks of the city turn to silhouette, then to smoke. People flee in all directions. Some carry chests filled with goods, some carry only their children. Others stand frozen, watching the homes they built dissolve behind them. The Thames fills with boats, everyone packed to the edges with goods and bodies. Families weep in silence as embers drift over the water. Livestock stampede through the streets. Shops are abandoned mid-sale. The sound of cracking timber mixes with the shouts of prayer, the crash of collapsing roofs, the endless hiss of flame consuming everything it touches. Daylight brings no relief. The fire burns bright enough to erase the distinction between night and morning. Smoke covers the sky. Ash falls like snow. People move without direction, guided only by instinct. Find air, find ground, find anything that still lives. To stand still is to burn. London is no longer a city. It is a single organism of heat and destruction, devouring itself from within. For 4 days, the fire reigns. Attempts to fight it are desperate and few. Explosions used to cut fire breaks shake the ground, doing as much harm as good. Prayers echo across the open spaces, mingling with the cries of the displaced. The great Cathedral of St. Paul's, thought to be untouchable in its stone magnificence, catches fire on the third day. Its lead roof melts into rivers that run through the streets. Each landmark that falls sends a shock through the people who remain, proof that nothing, not even God's own house, can withstand such hunger. When at last the wind drops and the fire begins to die, London lies broken. 2/3 of the city is gone. Thousands are homeless. The heart of English trade and ambition has been hollowed out in less than a week. Outside the ruins, the survivors gather in open fields. They bring what little they have saved, bits of furniture, bundles of clothing, precious keepsakes, and sometimes nothing but the clothes on their backs. They lie under the open sky at night, shivering in the damp, watching the smoke climb from what used to be their world. Children cry for homes they will never see again. Mothers whisper stories of what stood where the embers now glow. Rumors run through the camps that foreigners have set the fire, that God has chosen punishment, that the king will forbid rebuilding. Anger turns upon strangers easily in the dark. Without streets and shops to hold them together, Londoners become a scattered people. Money loses meaning when the banks themselves are ash. The city's order, its trades and hierarchies, collapse into survival. People share bread, water, and silence. They measure time by how long the smoke lasts. For days after the fire's end, the air over the ruins glows faintly at night, as if memory itself refuses to cool. But even in grief, something stirs, a question, a purpose. What comes after? When the rubble finally stops smoking, the work of thought begins. Surveyors measure the blackened ground with quiet awe. There is talk of starting anew, not as it was, but as it could be. Architects like Christopher Wren and others draw great plans, broad avenues, public squares, grand designs meant to banish the nightmare of narrow streets forever. Some call for marble, some for symmetry, some for perfection. Their visions catch the imagination of a grieving city that must now reimagine itself. Not all dreams will survive the meeting of Parliament and purse. Landowners demand their plots back. Debts must still be paid. In the end, pragmatism wins. The new London rises from the ashes of the old, not as the marble dream of planners, but as a city shaped by lessons learned in flame. Timber gives way to brick and stone. Streets grow wider. Regulations become real. The fire service is born, slow at first but determined. Every brick laid afterward carries the ghost of what came before it. The soul of the city changes too. Its new face is tidier, safer, less spontaneous. The old, crooked beauty is gone. In its place stands something sturdier, built not from confidence anymore, but from caution. People walk the new streets knowing what the old ones cost. Yet even as years pass and new generations fill these roads, the memory of that week never fully leaves. It lingers in charred foundations, in stories told beside new hearths. It lingers in the rules that govern every pipe, every wall, every flame. History often tries to make sense of fire, as punishment, as rebirth, as cleansing. But the blaze that consumed London was none of those things. It was a mirror, showing the city what it had made of itself, proud, close, unprepared, but capable of rising again. The Great Fire did not end London. It revealed its truth. It showed how a city's strength can also be its weakness, how order can crumble beneath its own certainty. London's survival came not from destiny, but from change. After the fire, it chose to learn. It chose to rebuild. And in that choice, it discovered that progress is not comfort. It is memory transformed into action. Centuries later, cities around the world still stand upon the same unspoken bargain. We build closer, higher, faster, trusting that systems and promises will hold forever. But permanence is an illusion. What London learned in flame, we risk forgetting in glass and steel. Every city believes it will last. Every generation believes its safeguards are enough. Yet history whispers otherwise. There is always another spark waiting. And when it comes, it will test not just our buildings, but our belief in what cannot fall. Because what burns is never only wood or stone. It is the idea that safety and progress can live without humility. London learned that lesson 3.5 centuries ago, written not in ink, but in fire.